Hey there, what is up you guys? I am Jerry and welcome back to the channel, The Chicago Griller. This is the show where I share my favorite tips, tricks, and recipes for the Weber Q. If you think that I can help you out, hit that like button and subscribe. In today's video, I'll be making some twice baked potatoes on the Weber Q. This actually is not something that I've made in the past, as my family didn't have it when I was growing up, which is a shame for me. That said, I will give all credit for this recipe to my wife, who had this every Sunday growing up in her household. Lucky her. Anyways, stick around after the intro and I'll show you how we make these on the Weber. To begin, start with a couple of medium-sized, washed and scrubbed russet potatoes. Then, what you're going to want to do is you'll want to grab a sturdy fork and then poke a few holes in the surface of your potatoes. We do this so that steam can escape from the potatoes when we cook them in the grill. If you don't do this, there's a chance, albeit a small one, that the potatoes may explode. Once this step is completed, we're going to brush on a light layer of olive oil on the surface of each of our potatoes. This will help the skin crisp up very nicely when we hit the grill. Crispy potato skins are very underrated, don't you think? But we do need a little bit of a flavor boost, so add a little bit of kosher salt. Oops, that's kind of bouncing all over the place. That's okay, just as long as some of it sticks. And of course, what's always paired with salt? Some freshly ground black pepper. Once you've oiled and seasoned both sides of your potatoes, it's time to head on out to the grill for the first bake. And for today's cook, I'll be grilling on my Weber Q1200. To roast or bake on your Weber Q, you need to set up a roasting rack and a heat shield and place that in the center of your grill. If your gas isn't already on at this point, crank it up to high and let your grill preheat for about 15 to 20 minutes. Once the ambient temperature of your grill gets up to around 400 degrees Fahrenheit, that's around 200 degrees Celsius, you could load up your potatoes onto your grill. Place them directly onto the roasting rack above the heat shield. If you're not familiar with this method of indirect grilling on the Weber Q, be sure to click the link in the card above. All that said, your potatoes are in the grill. Continue to let them bake at about 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour or until fork tender. For today, that means leaving my grill on high heat, but your mileage may vary depending on a variety of factors, so you should monitor your grill regularly and adjust the gas knob if necessary. After 1 hour in the grill, our potatoes should be ready. But in order to verify that they're done, take a fork or a knife and poke straight into the center of one of them. It should insert and pull out cleanly with no residue. If so, they're done. So as you just saw from my knife test, these potatoes are done, so I'm going to grab a set of tongs and pull these hot potatoes off of my grill. I'm going to now close the lid to my grill so that it could come on back up to temperature while I head inside and prepare for the second bake. So the gist of what we're doing in this step is we're going to make some mashed potatoes from the meat and then stuff that back into the skins. To do so, first grab a knife and cut your potatoes about 1/3 of the way down, leaving a bottom 2/3 and a lid that consists of 1/3 of your potato. Kinda like so. Alright, now we need to be a little bit careful with this next step. We're going to grab a spoon and then scoop the meat out of each of your potato skin halves, thirds, whatever you want to call it. Just be careful not to puncture the skin. This step should actually be fairly easy because these potatoes are done and nice and tender. Continue this process until you've scooped out all the flesh from all your potatoes and placed it into a bowl. With all our potatoes hollowed out, we now want to grab the top third of one of our potatoes, the lid, and place that into one of the bottom 2/3 and form kind of a little potato boat. Now you can set your skins aside while we make some mashed potatoes. And the first step to any good mashed potato recipe is to add some butter. Here I'm going to drop in 1 tablespoon of butter, although use more if that's your preference. Regardless of how much you use, mix that into your potatoes. Before we get further along with these mashed potatoes, I'd like to say that this is not necessarily a recipe video, more of a technique video. So from this point on, it should be about adding what you like. But the following are examples of what I like to add. So first up, I'm going to start with some chopped up garlic scapes. Normally I just use green onion, but these happen to be available at a local community garden. So scapes it is. Next, I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of skim milk. Use half and half or even whole milk if you want it a little bit creamier. And now for the best part, some cooked bacon bits. Or in my case today, we went with something special and are using some pancetta. And now we could give everything a mix. I will also note that you may have observed that I didn't add any additional salt to my mashed potatoes, and that's because the bacon or pancetta already has plenty of it. It's always good to cut down your salt intake a little bit, in my opinion. As you mix up and mash your potatoes, use your eyes and your senses. If you feel like you need a little bit more of one ingredient or another for the perfect ratio, then add it. So I'm going to add a few more scapes. And while I did omit adding additional salt, I will crack a little bit of fresh ground pepper in here because I forgot to do so earlier. And because things are looking a little bit too dry for my liking, I'm going to add a little bit more milk to this. Once your mashed potatoes have the ingredients ratio to your liking, as well as the consistency that you're looking for, it's time to move on to the next step. And that is to start filling your potato skin boats and lids with your mashed potatoes. Now, because we stacked the skins the way we did, your potato skins will look like they're overflowing with mashed potatoes. And this is intentional, because I just think this presents very impressively. Kind of makes it seem like you're getting served more potatoes for the money. Anyways, one final ingredient after you've used up all your mashed potatoes, and that's to layer some shredded cheese to the top of your filled potato skins and mashed potato boats. I'm using Colby Jack, but pretty much any blend or any cheese would work, because it's cheese, you can't go wrong. Now we are finally all set for the second bake. So, headed back out to our Q1200, which has been on this whole time. We're going to place our filled potato skin boats back onto the roasting rack for the second bake in this twice baked potato technique. So now, shut the lid and let this bake for an additional 20 minutes, allowing the cheese to melt and the edges of your potatoes to crisp up a little bit more. So after 20 minutes, here we are, and you can see all of our goals have been accomplished. Our cheese has melted, and you can see some nice color on some of the edges of our mashed potatoes. So it's time to pull these off the grill and enjoy. So here we are, one final look at our creation for the day. Twice baked potatoes made on a Weber Q. Seriously, where have these been all my life? If you've never had these before, now's the time to start. Thank you as always for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I cannot wait to see you all again next time. Bye!